The Odyssey is out now in cinemas, but does it really live up to all that hype? Let's discuss. Hello everyone, my name is Jay and welcome to my review of 2026's The Odyssey. The Odyssey, of course, is written and directed by Christopher Nolan and is based upon Homer's epic poem of the same name. I am going to try and stay away from spoilers, but if it's something that the film is merely adapting from the original work in the epic poem by Homer, then I'm not really going to count that as a spoiler, as a lot of people are already familiar with that tale. If you don't want to know anything about the film, you want to go in absolutely blind, then just do the usual stuff, save the video to your watch later playlist, and you can come back later when you've seen the film. Also, before you go, or if you're going to keep watching, either way, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that button, and you can click the bell as well, and that way you are notified when I post a new video. Okay, that is all the housekeeping. Let's get into the review of The Odyssey. So The Odyssey, as I said in the intro, has been extremely hyped up. People were going crazy for those pre-sale tickets, and it really was built up to be this massive, unmissable event. So the question everyone's asking is, does it actually live up to that hype? In my opinion, yes it does. Of course, the cast for The Odyssey is absolutely stacked. You could say that everybody in Hollywood is in this film, though I would urge you to have a look at the cast list for Avengers Doomsday and then come back and decide whether that description is best fitted for The Odyssey or Avengers Doomsday. I think we can both agree one of them has a lot more people than the other. Whether that's a good thing or not, we'll find out. No, but for real, there are a lot of stars in this film, including, of course, leading man Matt Damon as Odysseus, the king of Ithaca. We have his wife Penelope, played by Anne Hathaway, and we have Tom Holland as Telemachus, their son. I think the standout for me is actually Tom Holland. He gets a lot more of a serious role in this film, and he proves to be a really capable actor because a lot of his other films that he's done are maybe a bit more, I don't want to say silly, but or even juvenile, but certainly in this one he has a lot to carry on his shoulders. He's not swinging around New York as we're going to see in 2 weeks' time. Other cast members though, there's loads of them. We've got Robert Pattinson, we've got Lupita Nyong'o, Samantha Morton, we've got John Bernthal, Zendaya, Charlize Theron. There's loads of people in this film, so there's bound to be someone, or probably a few people, that you're going to recognise. Now, I did actually do some research before going into this film because I actually felt that I was in the minority and not really knowing anything about the Odyssey. Granted, I did know apparently a lot more than some people did.
In his epic poems, Homer often refers to nectar as the drink of the gods, and which other substance as their food.
I know he likes donuts.
I think if you're going into the film though, it certainly does help to get a wee YouTube video, maybe a summary of what happened in Homer's The Odyssey. I'll link the one that I watched in the description below. I found it was quite concise and quite helpful, and it meant that going in, I already knew when they were starting to say characters' names who everybody was, and I just felt it was a lot easier because this is not a new story in a sense, so I don't think it's a spoiler to go in already knowing what's happened, or at least who each of the characters actually are. If you don't know, or if you don't want to do any research before going into the film, then I think that's fine. If you want to go in blind, then Christopher Nolan does do a good job at getting this complex story and making it pretty clear. You might be surprised to hear me say that Christopher Nolan is making things clear, but I'll go on to that in a little bit. But yeah, he does do a good job of making sure, if you don't know anything at all, that you're not totally lost, and making sure that you're as welcome as anyone, even if you're not familiar with the story. In regards to the clearness of the film, it's pretty common for Nolan to do something that's told in a non-linear, non-chronological fashion. The same is true here, but what I liked about it is that every time that we skipped out of time, we get a flashback of something that happened previously. It's totally warranted. It's often coming from a point of a character recounting their experiences as they're telling another character, because it's pivotal information that needs to be passed on. I really liked that, and it meant that I've not seen Tenet, one of Christopher Nolan's other films, and there's many more you could choose, but I know that that was quite polarizing because it was kind of just too confusing, too out of order. This for me made a lot more sense, and it was very easy to follow. I was never lost in the film. One of the criticisms of The Odyssey, or maybe just an observation that people have, is that it does not feature the gods to an extent that you might expect them to feature. They have a role in the film, that's definitely true, but they don't have as much presence as our more human characters do. I think that's actually foreshadowed in the film's opening on-screen text, because it reads, "in a time of apparent magic," which I have now, in hindsight, interpreted as Nolan's aim to make this a much more grounded story that's rooted in the human characters, though not to the point where the magical nature of the film and the gods are totally absent from all of the action. The gods do have an important role, that is definitely true. Though, like in the case of Zendaya's Athena, she maybe only appears sporadically, or in the case of Poseidon, doesn't actually appear at all, although he is critical to the plot and his actions have major consequences on our characters, primarily our leading man Matt Damon as Odysseus. I think that Nolan's actually being very cautiously careful, if that's a correct term to use, with how the mystical elements are being incorporated into the Odyssey. That is exactly because of the grounded and gritty story that he wants to tell, and if you're including all this fantastical elements into it, it does have the potential or the risk to stray away from that narrative that he wants to stick to. This I found was most at risk when we have Odysseus's army coming across Cersei, who of course is a witch in both the original tale and the film. She temporarily turns Odysseus's army from men into pigs. Other movies might have shown that transformation to be some sort of magical and fantastical change that maybe goes a bit beyond believability. Some might just not show the moment at all, maybe show them as men and then cut back and now they're pigs. This was actually, though, the choice in the film that impressed me the most. It's a very disturbing transformation. It very much plays on body horror, so if you're not a fan of that, it's maybe something you wouldn't expect in this film, but it is there, so maybe you won't be a fan of that if that's something that gets you. But I really liked it. It worked for me. Cersei is a witch, but she is physically molding these men into pigs, pulling on their skin, that to me really keeps the tone of the film. It's grotesque and I absolutely loved it. A lot of people said from the initial trailers that the film actually looked pretty bleak and pretty dull, and that for them that took away a lot of the excitement that they had for the film, and I will admit it, I was one of those people. There are still elements of the film that are quite dark, but I found when I finished the viewing that it worked, and that is because it is balanced with much brighter scenes that I don't think it makes the film too dark a watch overall. I of course saw this in the cinema, and that is exactly where you should be seeing this film. Do not wait until it comes out on streaming or on a physical release, because you will regret not seeing it. But because I saw it in the cinema, it was obviously maybe a bit too obvious, but it was dark. It was a dark room. There is nothing worse than watching a film at home and you've got the sunlight coming in through your window or even through the curtains, and you can't see the film itself because it's just far too dark. I think the Odyssey gets it just right. Yes, there are those dark scenes, but not dark to the point where you can't make out what's going on, and there are much brighter scenes as well that balances everything out. If I was to try and criticise the Odyssey, then the first place, viewers of the channel will probably know about me. I'm going to point to the runtime, 2 hours and 53 minutes, but honestly, I had absolutely no problem with this. I think any film over 2 hours has to justify why it's this long, and the Odyssey certainly did that. I had no qualms with it whatsoever. I think I would applaud Nolan for actually keeping everything that he did in the film and not cutting everything. If I was in charge of deciding what to cut from the film to try and condense that runtime, I would have a really hard time doing that. So well done, Nolan. The one thing I did have issues with is the sound, and that was only on 2 occasions. During these 2 separate but loud and explosive scenes, I just felt that it was too loud. There's no better way to put it. I had to cover one of my ears at one point, and I felt like the sound system, maybe just in my cinema, but the sound system they had there just couldn't handle the high volume of what we were watching. I think the speakers had maybe reached their potential as to what they were capable of. That's something that is easily fixed, and I kind of wish it was looked upon. I know that other Christopher Nolan films have been criticised for this, but I have seen Inception and Interstellar in the cinema. I didn't find any problems with that. This was the first time that I noticed this is just a bit too loud, so I would have appreciated that if that was just a little bit quieter, but it's a small qualm. Overall, I'm giving the Odyssey 4.5 stars. It was very close to 5. But again, the only criticism I have is it's a bit too loud. But even then, it's just, if I think to my favourite film of the year, which at the moment is Project Hail Mary, I just don't think I can, people might come at me for that, I don't think I can put it quite up there with it. For me, if it's a 5-star film, it has to do that special something. Project Hail Mary did that, but please, that is not to criticise the Odyssey. I had an absolute blast watching this film. I think, again, you're doing yourself You're going to have massive regrets if you don't go see this film. So certainly do it. It is a film of the year. I fully expect the film to get those Oscar nominations and hopefully wins, because there are so many aspects of the film that deserve those accolades. That is everything I have to say on this film. If you've seen the film, then please do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Give the video a like as well, and if you've not done so, again, please do subscribe to the channel. Last thing, I don't really mention this that much. I put it in my little end card, which you'll see in just a few seconds, but I post a lot on TikTok. I'm doing a lot of fun stuff on there, so if you want to see me where I'm a lot more active, a lot of them get uploaded to the YouTube Shorts section, but not everything. So please do follow me on TikTok. It's Jay like the letter. I'd love to have you there as well. Okay, that really is everything. Thank you so much for watching. The Odyssey is a great film. That is all I have to say. See you next time. Bye.